Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our story. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our story. After the awkward escape from the restaurant, Emma couldn't stop replaying the whole situation in her head. She had to admit, the guy, Liam, was nice. Not the polished type of guy she was used to seeing at places like that. He seemed down to earth, genuine, even though their meeting had been a complete disaster. What was it about him that made her feel this way? She couldn't figure it out. Her phone buzzed again, and it was a text from Jenny. What happened? You just ran out of there. I thought you were having a great conversation. Emma shook her head as she read the message, sinking deeper into her couch. She wasn't sure how to explain it. How do you explain to your best friend that you just messed up an entire blind date and walked out of the restaurant without realizing you'd been talking to the wrong guy? I sat at the wrong table, she typed back, hitting send before adding. It was him, but it wasn't him. You know what I mean. Emma dropped her phone onto the coffee table, her mind racing. She never expected things to go this way. She had barely said a word before she discovered her mistake, and by then, she was already halfway to the door. She had thought about going back, apologizing, but that would have made things even worse. She had to let it go. Besides, it wasn't like she'd see him again, right? But deep down, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something had clicked between them. Their conversation was easy, almost too easy for a first meeting. She'd expected awkward silences, the usual small talk, but instead, they'd laughed. She'd shared things with him that she didn't normally share, and somehow, he had made her feel seen in a way that few people had. She groaned, burying her face in her hands. What was she doing? She couldn't afford to get caught up in some fantasy. The next morning, Emma was on her usual shift at the diner. She poured coffee into a mug, trying to focus on the customers around her, but her mind kept wandering back to last night. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't recognize the number, but the message was clear. Hi Emma, it's Liam. I hope you're not mad. I know last night was weird, but I've been thinking about our conversation. I'd like to make it up to you. Coffee. No awkwardness this time, I promise. Her heart skipped a beat. He was reaching out. After what had happened, he still wanted to see her again. Could she really do this? Could she go on another date with him, knowing how awkward their first encounter had been? But then again, something about his message felt real. He wasn't just some guy who brushed her off. He genuinely wanted to make things right. Maybe she should give it a shot. She hesitated for a second before typing back. Coffee sounds good, she wrote, and hit send before she could talk herself out of it. She hadn't expected to hear from him again, and now here he was, asking for a second chance. The thought made her stomach flutter. Later that afternoon, Emma arrived at the small cafe he suggested. It wasn't far from the diner, and the cozy atmosphere was a welcome contrast to the sterile elegance of the restaurant from the night before. She spotted Liam immediately. He was sitting by the window, looking exactly like she remembered, calm, composed, but there was something about his eyes that felt different this time. He stood as she walked in, a slight smile on his lips. Hey, Liam said, his voice warm. I'm really glad you came. I know last night was a little, well, you know, a disaster. Emma smiled, feeling the tension melt away. It's okay, she replied, taking a seat across from him. I guess we both made a little mistake. She could feel her cheeks flush, but she was determined to let it go this time. This was just coffee, nothing more. They both ordered their drinks, and the conversation quickly picked up where it had left off the night before. This time, there were no mistakes. They laughed over small talk, exchanged stories about their lives, and even got into deeper topics. Emma found herself opening up more than she had intended, but it felt easy with him. She could tell Liam was listening, really listening, not just waiting for his turn to speak. He was different from the men she'd met in her life. As they finished their drinks, Emma glanced at her phone, realizing she was late for her next shift. She stood up, gathering her things. Thanks for this, Liam. I didn't expect to have such a nice time. Liam stood too, his expression a little more serious now. I meant what I said last night. I've been thinking about you since then. I really want to get to know you better. Emma's heart skipped again. He was different. She could feel it now. We'll see, she said with a playful smile, already stepping toward the door. As she left, she couldn't stop herself from looking back at him. Liam was still standing by the window, watching her go. Something had shifted between them in just a few hours, and Emma wasn't sure where it would lead, but for the first time in a long time, she was excited to find out. After that second meeting, Emma couldn't stop thinking about Liam. It had only been a couple of days, but it felt like something had shifted. Their coffee date had been effortless, filled with laughter and shared stories. For once, she didn't feel like she had to impress him or put on a front. She could just be herself, and that felt good. But as much as she wanted to let herself enjoy this feeling, a part of her kept pulling back. Was this too good to be true? Was she reading too much into it? Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was Liam. Hey Emma, I was wondering if you'd like to join me at a charity gala this weekend. I know it's last minute, but I think you'd enjoy it. Plus, I'd love for you to meet some of my friends. Emma stared at the screen for a moment. A gala? She had never been to anything like that before. The idea of rubbing elbows with high society was both exciting and intimidating. But she also realized something. This was his world. The world that felt so out of reach to her. The world she had been pretending to belong to when she had sat at the wrong table. And yet, here he was, asking her to be part of it. She took a deep breath and typed back. That sounds great. I'd love to come. Thanks for inviting me. She hit send before she could talk herself out of it. The night of the gala arrived, and Emma stood in front of her small mirror, examining her reflection. She had borrowed a simple but elegant dress from Jenny, and though it wasn't the most expensive outfit, she felt good in it. She ran a hand through her hair and applied one last coat of lip gloss. Her nerves were on edge as she grabbed her purse and made her way to the event. When she arrived at the venue, Emma felt a wave of uncertainty. The building was grand, with chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, and the guests were dressed to the nines. She stood in the lobby, scanning the crowd for Liam. It wasn't just the fancy clothes that made her feel out of place. It was the feeling of being an outsider in a world she wasn't sure she belonged to. And then she saw him. Liam was standing by the bar, talking to a group of people. The moment his eyes met hers, he smiled, and she felt a rush of relief. He was dressed in a sleek black tuxedo, looking every bit the part of a man who belonged here. He walked over to her, his smile widening as he approached. You made it, Liam said, his voice warm and welcoming. You look stunning. Emma's face turned pink at the compliment, but she smiled, feeling a little more at ease. Thanks, she replied, adjusting her clutch nervously. This place is amazing, but I feel a little out of my element. Liam chuckled softly. You'll be fine. Just stick with me. Besides, I think you'll be a breath of fresh air. Around here. He offered her his arm, and Emma took it hesitantly, feeling the weight of the evening ahead. As they walked into the main ballroom, Emma was introduced to Liam's friends. Well-dressed and confident, they greeted her with polite smiles and friendly conversation. She did her best to keep up, but it was hard not to feel overwhelmed by the world they inhabited. The conversations were fast-paced and filled with topics she wasn't familiar with, but Liam seemed to know exactly how to guide her through it all, making her feel included. As the night went on, Emma found herself enjoying the event more than she had expected. She even danced with Liam, feeling a sense of connection that she hadn't felt with anyone in a long time. The music played, the laughter flowed, and for a few hours, it didn't matter that she didn't come from this world. But as the night came to a close, Liam pulled her aside. I'm glad you came tonight, he said, his voice softer now. I know this is all a bit much, but I wanted to show you my world. And I'm hoping you'll want to be a part of it. Emma's heart fluttered, and she felt a warmth spread through her chest. She wasn't sure what this was, or where it was going, but for the first time, she allowed herself to admit something to herself. She was starting to care about him. Really care. I had a great time, Emma said, her voice steady. Thank you for inviting me. She smiled at him, feeling something shift between them. Liam smiled back, his eyes sincere. This is just the beginning, Emma. I'd like to see where this goes. As they left the gala together, walking into the crisp night air, Emma couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, she was on the verge of something new. Something real. The following week, Emma found herself walking through the doors of a new world once again. This time, it wasn't a gala. It wasn't a lavish event or a crowd of high society people. It was something simpler, quieter, but just as important. She had been invited by Liam to see a different side of his life, his work, the sleek offices, the high-rise views, and the world of tech companies. As she stepped into the modern building, she couldn't help but feel a little out of place. Her simple dress and worn-out shoes felt like a stark contrast to the polished world of business suits and boardrooms that surrounded her. Liam met her at the elevator, wearing his usual confident smile, but there was something different in his eyes today. His tone was softer, more personal. "You made it," he said, taking her coat from her as they walked toward the conference room. "I'm glad you're here. I've been wanting you to see where I work." Emma smiled nervously. "I've never really been in a place like this before. It's all so big." She looked around, feeling the weight of the glass walls and the view of the city stretching out in front of her. It was hard to believe that this was the same man who had sat across from her in a cafe, laughing over coffee. Liam chuckled, his voice warm. "Don't let the building intimidate you. It's just a place. What matters is the people inside it." He gestured toward the door of the conference room. "Come on. I want you to meet some of the team." As they entered the conference room, Emma was greeted by a group of people who looked just as polished as the building itself. They were smart, confident, and professional, and Emma felt a slight pang of insecurity. She had always worked hard to get by, but this was a different world. She stood beside Liam, trying her best to look at ease. Liam introduced her to his colleagues one by one, each of them shaking her hand with a polite smile. They asked questions, made small talk, and Emma did her best to keep up, though she was starting to feel more and more out of place. What was she doing here? After the meeting, Liam suggested they grab a quick lunch. "Don't worry about the meeting. You did fine," he said with a reassuring smile, though Emma could tell he was trying to make her feel comfortable. "You're not expected to know everything about tech companies or what we do here. This is about getting to know the people, and I want you to meet the ones who mean the most to me." Emma nodded, though the weight of the moment still felt heavy. "It's just different. I'm used to working at a diner, talking to regular folks. But here, everything seems so calculated." Liam raised an eyebrow and smiled. "That's the difference between work and life. What you're doing is real, Emma. You make a difference in people's lives every day. I think that's why I like being around you. You're not concerned with all the stuff other people care about." They made their way to a small restaurant nearby, a cozy little place tucked between two buildings. Emma felt a little more at ease as they sat down at a corner table, away from the hustle and bustle of the office world. As she looked at Liam, she noticed a softer side of him, something that wasn't immediately obvious in the polished exterior he often showed. He was still the man she had met that night, but there was more to him now, and she was starting to see it. "Thanks for bringing me here," Emma said as she stirred her drink. "It's kind of amazing to see this part of your life. I never imagined it was like this." Liam leaned back in his chair, his eyes thoughtful. "It's not all as glamorous as it looks. Most days, it's just hard work. But what I've learned is that the people you surround yourself with, whether it's your team or someone you care about, they make all the difference." Emma looked up at him, her heart fluttering. She had never thought much about the people around her. She had always been focused on surviving, getting through the day, paying the bills. But there was something about Liam's words that made her reconsider her own life, her own relationships. Maybe it wasn't just about getting by. Maybe it was about finding the right people who would make the tough days easier. She smiled, a little unsure, but wanting to believe in the possibility of something more. "I'm starting to see that," she said quietly. "I'm starting to understand what you mean." Liam's expression softened, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to fade. They were just two people sharing a moment of connection, not thinking about the differences between their worlds, but about the common ground they had found. As they finished lunch, Liam paid the bill, and they left the restaurant together. Emma couldn't help but feel like something was changing between them. She wasn't sure where it would go or what would happen next, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had someone she could count on. And that, in itself, was a little scary but also exciting. As they walked out into the cool afternoon, Liam looked at her with a small, genuine smile. "I'm glad you're in my life, Emma. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes." And Emma, feeling a warmth spread through her chest, knew she was ready to find out too. The days that followed felt like a blur. Emma found herself slipping deeper into Liam's world, but she was careful to keep her feet planted in her own reality. She still worked at the diner, still struggled to pay her bills, but every time she saw Liam, there was a part of her that wanted to stay with him in that new world, the world he had introduced her to. And yet, every time she thought about getting closer to him, doubts crept in. Was she really ready for all of this? Was she really ready for him? It was another Friday afternoon when Liam called her, his voice warm but urgent. "Hey Emma, I need to talk to you about something. Can you meet me tonight? I've got something I want to share with you." Emma's heart skipped. What was this about? "Of course, where?" she asked, trying to keep her tone casual, even though her mind was racing. "I'll text you the details. It's important." She hung up, the weight of his words lingering in her mind. What could it be? She couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. Again, that night, she dressed quickly, the excitement and nervousness in her chest making her movements almost mechanical. She had no idea what Liam was going to say, but she knew it would be something significant. When Emma arrived at the address Liam had texted her, she found herself standing in front of a large building she hadn't seen before. It was sleek and modern, much like everything else about Liam's world. She stepped inside, the quiet hum of the elevator reflecting her growing anxiety. The doors opened, and Liam was waiting for her in the lobby. "Hey," Liam greeted her, his smile warm, but there was something in his eyes that made her heart race. "I'm glad you came." "Of course," she said, though she wasn't sure what exactly she was walking into. "You said you needed to talk?" Liam nodded, his face becoming more serious as he motioned for her to follow him down the hall. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you. I've been thinking a lot about this, about us." They reached a small, private conference room. Liam closed the door behind them and turned to face her. "I wanted to share something with you because you deserve to know. You deserve to know the truth." Emma's stomach fluttered. She had never seen him so serious before. "What truth?" she asked, her voice a little shaky. Liam took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers with a sincerity she hadn't seen from him before. "I'm not just some tech guy, Emma. I'm more than that. I've built an empire, I've made investments, and I've made mistakes. But I also want to share something with you that's not about business, not about my wealth. It's about what really matters." Emma blinked, trying to process his words. "Liam, what are you talking about?" He stepped closer to her, his hand reaching out to gently touch her arm. "I care about you, Emma. I'm not saying this because of my business or my money. I'm saying this because of who I am and how I feel when I'm with you. You make me feel like myself again. I haven't felt like this in years. I know I've been distant, but I want to change that. I want to see where this goes." Her heart skipped a beat. She had heard the words, but they didn't feel real. Could it really be happening? Could Liam, the successful, confident man who lived in a world so far from hers, really be telling her that he wanted something more than just a casual fling? Emma took a step back, her mind swirling with questions. "But what about everything else? Your life? Your business? What about all of that?" Liam smiled softly, stepping closer. "You're the one who matters now, Emma. I've spent too many years chasing things that didn't matter. Now, I want to focus on the things that do. And that's you. I don't want to let go of this, of us." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had never imagined this moment. Never thought that the man who seemed so unreachable just a few weeks ago would be standing here, pouring his heart out to her. The words felt so real, so sincere, that she could hardly process them. She looked into his eyes, searching for any hint of doubt, but all she saw was certainty. The kind of certainty she had always wished for in her own life. And for the first time in a long time, she realized she wanted to take a chance. She wanted to believe that this was real. "Liam," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know what this is, or where it's going. But I'm willing to find out." Liam's face lit up with a smile so genuine, so full of relief, that it made Emma's heart swell. He reached for her hand, gently squeezing it as if to reassure her that this wasn't some fleeting moment, but the beginning of something more. "I'm glad you're willing to try," Liam said softly, his eyes never leaving hers. "We'll take this one step at a time. Together." As they stood there, in the quiet of the conference room, Emma realized that for the first time in a long time, she wasn't alone in her journey. She had someone who understood her, who wanted to walk beside her as they both figured out what their future could be. And that was more than she had ever hoped for. As the days passed, Emma found herself getting more comfortable in Liam's world. She was still living her regular life, working at the diner, trying to make ends meet, but when she was with him, everything seemed different. It was as if the weight of the world she carried lifted just a little. They spent more time together, going to small cafes, walking through parks, and sharing quiet moments that made Emma realize how much she was beginning to care for him. But still, the doubts lingered in the back of her mind. What did he see in her? What was he expecting? Was she just another distraction to him? Someone he could keep around for a while before moving on to something else? It wasn't until one evening, as they sat on a bench in the park, watching the sunset, that Emma finally asked the question that had been on her mind for days. "Liam, what do you really want out of all of this?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with both curiosity and fear. Liam turned to her, his face serious for the first time in a while. He reached over, gently taking her hand in his. "I want you, Emma. I want to see where this goes," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "I know it's been fast, and I know it's complicated. But I'm not playing games. I want something real with you. I've never been this sure about anything in my life." Emma's heart raced as she looked into his eyes. She could feel the sincerity in his words, but a part of her was still hesitant. She had always been the kind of person who kept her guard up, especially when it came to matters of the heart. She had seen too many things fall apart to just blindly trust in something so uncertain. "But what about everything else?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What about your business, your world? What do I fit into all of that?" Liam smiled, his thumb gently rubbing the back of her hand. "You fit into my life in a way I never expected. This business, this world, it doesn't mean anything if I don't have someone to share it with. I've built all this, but I've been alone in it for so long. What's the point if I don't have someone I care about? You're not just part of my life, Emma. You are my life now." For a moment, Emma didn't know what to say. She could feel the weight of his words sinking in, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to feel something other than fear. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that this was real, that the connection they had wasn't just fleeting. But the doubts still hung in the air, like a shadow she couldn't shake. She took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around his. "I'm scared, Liam," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "Scared that I'm not enough. Scared that I don't belong in your world." Liam's expression softened, and he leaned in closer, his eyes full of understanding. "Emma, you are more than enough. You're everything I never knew I needed. You don't have to fit into my world. You bring your own world with you. That's what makes it special. We're different, yes, but that doesn't mean we can't make this work." Emma looked down at their intertwined hands, feeling a mixture of warmth and vulnerability. She had always felt like an outsider in many parts of her life, but somehow, with Liam, she felt like she was starting to belong, starting to trust. Maybe this was worth taking a chance on. Maybe it was time to stop running from what felt right. "I want to believe that," she whispered, her eyes meeting his once more. "I do, but I'm just not sure if I'm ready to dive in completely." Liam nodded, his smile reassuring. "You don't have to rush anything. I'm here, Emma. We can take it one step at a time. No pressure. We're in this together." Emma felt a sense of relief wash over her, a weight lifting off her shoulders. She had never been good at letting go of control, but for the first time in a long while, she realized it wasn't about control. It was about trust, about letting herself be open to the possibilities that Liam was offering her. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to let herself be happy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma rested her head on Liam's shoulder, the comfort of his presence wrapping around her like a warm embrace. She didn't have all the answers, and she didn't know what the future held. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid to take that next step with him. And that was enough for now. The following week, Emma found herself standing at a crossroads. She had spent more time with Liam, and every moment with him felt different from anything she had experienced before. But as much as she wanted to believe that this could be something real, something lasting, the fears that had haunted her for so long started creeping back in. What if this was just a fleeting feeling for him? What if she wasn't enough? What if he was just playing a game, and she was the fool? She sat at the small cafe, nursing her coffee, the steam swirling up from the mug, her thoughts swirling just as much. She had been to Liam's apartment the night before, and everything had felt perfect. He had held her close, kissed her gently, and made her feel like she was the most important person in the world. But now, sitting here alone, the doubts began to cloud her mind. Was it really that simple? Her phone buzzed on the table, breaking her train of thought. It was a text from Liam. "Hey, I was thinking we should talk. I want to take you somewhere special this weekend. Let me know when you're free." Emma stared at the message for a moment, her heart fluttering. What did he mean by talk? Was he having second thoughts? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she typed back, "I'm free tomorrow afternoon. Where are we going?" She hit send and leaned back in her chair, hoping that the answer would be just what she needed to hear. The next day, Emma arrived at the address Liam had sent her. It was a quiet, charming part of the city she had never been to before, tucked away from the noise and rush of downtown. She followed the directions, her footsteps echoing softly in the calm street, until she arrived at a small, elegant park. Liam was waiting for her by a bench, dressed casually, his usual confident smile replaced by something softer, almost nervous. "You made it," Liam said, standing up as she approached. "I'm glad you're here." His voice had a certain warmth to it, but there was a hint of hesitation that Emma couldn't ignore. She couldn't help but wonder what was going on in his mind. "Of course," Emma said, trying to match his smile, but inside, her stomach twisted with nerves. "What's going on, Liam? You sounded like you wanted to talk about something important." Liam nodded, taking a deep breath. "I do want to talk. It's just, I've been thinking about everything, about us. And I know things have been moving pretty fast, and maybe I've been rushing things. But I need you to know something, Emma. I'm not just looking for a fling or some quick distraction. I want more. I want you. And I know I've said that before, but this time, I need to be clear." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had heard the words before, but something about the way he said them this time felt different. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the vulnerability that he had kept hidden behind the confident exterior. Her heart beat faster, and for the first time, she realized that she was truly scared, not because she didn't trust him, but because she was afraid of what it meant if this was real. "I've been holding back," Liam continued, his voice steady, "because I'm afraid too. Afraid that I'll lose myself in this. But I'm tired of being afraid. I want to be with you, Emma, and I need to know if you feel the same way." The silence between them stretched for a moment, and Emma felt her heart beating loudly in her chest. She wanted to tell him that she felt the same, but a part of her still held back, unsure of how to truly answer. She had never let herself get this close to anyone, never allowed herself to be this vulnerable. "I do feel the same way," Emma said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm scared, Liam. Scared of getting hurt, scared that this won't last." Liam stepped closer to her, taking her hand in his. "I understand, but I'm willing to take that risk, Emma. Are you?" She looked into his eyes, the fear and doubt still there, but something else too. Something hopeful. Maybe it was time to stop running from what she really wanted. Maybe it was time to trust, to take that leap. "I'm willing to try," Emma said, her voice steady now, her fear replaced with a sense of clarity. "I'm willing to try if you are." And in that moment, standing there in the quiet park with Liam, Emma realized that sometimes the hardest part wasn't the leap itself. It was giving yourself permission to take it. Weeks passed since Emma and Liam had that conversation in the park. The weight of their words still lingered in the air, but things between them felt more certain now. They took their time, letting their relationship grow at its own pace. Liam had been patient, never pushing her, and Emma appreciated that more than she could express. But even though she had opened her heart to him, there was still a part of her that couldn't shake the fear of it all. Was this really real? Or was she just fooling herself into believing it could be? One evening, as Emma was getting ready for another casual dinner with Liam, her phone rang. It was her landlord. Her stomach tightened as she answered. "Emma, I need to talk to you about your rent. It's overdue, and I'm afraid I can't keep waiting much longer." The words hit her like a ton of bricks. She had been doing her best to keep up, but with the bills piling up, it was getting harder to stay on top of things. "I'm sorry, I'm doing everything I can to get the money," Emma said, her voice shaky. "Just give me a little more time." "I've already given you extensions," her landlord replied flatly. "I can't do this anymore." And with that, the call ended. Emma stared at the screen for a long moment, the weight of her reality crashing down on her. The last thing she wanted was to ask Liam for help. She didn't want to be a burden to him. But where else could she turn? She didn't have to think long. A few hours later, Liam showed up at her door with a big smile on his face, as usual. But when he saw her, he immediately noticed something was wrong. "Hey, you okay?" Liam asked, his voice soft. Emma tried to force a smile, but failed miserably. Yeah, just one of those days, Emma replied, her eyes avoiding his. She didn't want to tell him, not yet. She wasn't sure if she was ready to ask for help. But the words slipped out anyway. I don't know what to do, Liam. My landlord's threatening to kick me out. I can't keep up with the rent. I've tried, but it's just too much. She could feel the tears welling up, but she held them back. She didn't want to seem weak. Liam's expression softened, and without saying a word, he stepped closer and took her hand. Emma, why didn't you tell me sooner? You don't have to go through this alone. Emma shook her head, not wanting to cry in front of him. I didn't want to burden you. You've done so much already. Liam smiled gently, lifting her chin so she was looking directly at him. You're not a burden. You never will be. I'm here for you, Emma. Whatever you need, I've got your back. Emma's heart swelled at his words. She had never felt more cared for, more seen. And in that moment, she knew she wasn't just a part of Liam's life. She was a part of his future. He wasn't just someone who was helping her out of a tough spot. He was someone who wanted to build something real with her. I want to help, Emma. Liam continued, his voice steady and kind. I've got the resources, but more than that, I want you to be okay. So let me help. No strings attached. Just let me be there for you. Emma felt a wave of relief flood over her, followed by a rush of gratitude. She never thought she'd be in a place where she could ask for help, let alone accept it so openly. But with Liam, it felt different. It felt right. Thank you, Emma whispered, her voice cracking slightly. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Liam replied, his hand brushing against hers. Just let me help you, Emma. You've been there for me, and I want to be there for you. As the evening went on, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. She wasn't alone anymore. She had someone who was willing to share the weight of the world with her. And that thought, more than anything, was the most comforting thing she had ever felt. Later that night, after Liam had left, Emma sat in her small apartment, looking around at the familiar surroundings. She had always felt like she was barely keeping things together. But now, with Liam in her life, everything seemed a little brighter. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe this was the kind of love she had been waiting for all her life. And maybe, just maybe, it was the kind of love that would last. The following weeks were a whirlwind of changes. Emma felt herself adjusting to a new rhythm, one that included not just her day-to-day struggles, but also the growing sense of security and love that came with being with Liam. She had never imagined that someone could care about her so much, but Liam had shown her, time and time again, that he was willing to stand by her. Whether it was helping her with the rent or simply spending time together, he was there, offering support and understanding. It felt like a dream, and Emma found herself hoping it wasn't just temporary. It was real. It had to be. One evening, as they were walking through the park near her apartment, Liam stopped suddenly. Emma turned to him, a curious smile on her face. What's wrong? She asked, sensing something was different in the air. Liam smiled back, but there was a look in his eyes that she hadn't seen before, a mixture of excitement and something deeper. I've been thinking, Liam started, his voice low, as if weighing his words carefully. About us, about everything. I'm ready, Emma. I'm ready to make this official, to take the next step. Emma's heart began to race. She had no idea what he meant, but she could feel the significance of the moment in her chest. What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Liam took a deep breath and then, with a soft smile, pulled something out of his pocket. It was a small box, sleek and elegant. Emma's breath caught in her throat. I want to be with you, Emma. I want to build a future with you. And I can't imagine doing that without you by my side. Will you marry me? For a moment, Emma couldn't speak. The world around them seemed to pause. She had been waiting for this moment, but when it actually came, it felt surreal. Her heart fluttered in her chest, a mix of overwhelming emotion and joy. She thought of everything that had led her here, the doubts, the fears, the struggles. And yet, here she was, standing in front of the man who had shown her a love she never thought possible. She looked at Liam, his eyes filled with hope and love, and everything inside her clicked into place. This was it. This was what she had been searching for. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking. Yes, I'll marry you. Liam's face lit up, and he stepped forward to take her hands in his. You've made me the happiest man in the world, he said softly, slipping the ring onto her finger. Emma looked down at the beautiful diamond, shining brightly in the evening light. It wasn't just the ring that made her heart soar, but the promise it represented, the promise of a future together, of love that had blossomed in the most unexpected of places. As they stood there, holding each other under the stars, Emma realized something she had never fully understood before. Love wasn't about perfection or having everything figured out. It was about choosing each other every day, through the ups and downs, and building something together. Liam had shown her that, and now, she knew she was ready to take that leap with him. The rest of the night passed in a blur of happiness, with Emma and Liam talking about their future, their dreams, and everything they hoped to accomplish together. As they walked back to her apartment, hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but smile. It had taken time, patience, and a lot of courage, but she had found something real. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of the future anymore. With Liam by her side, she knew anything was possible. In the weeks that followed, Emma and Liam continued to grow closer, building the foundation of their life together. They made plans for their wedding, and though Emma was still adjusting to this new, unfamiliar world, she knew she had found her place. Not just in Liam's world, but in his heart. And that, she realized, was the most important place of all.